Yes. Still not 10 minutes. That's not even real. Oh, Lord. Yes. Good morning. Bridging civil tension. Well, we're going to bridge it from our last show. There was a lot of civil tension on the last show. The grounds even ran overtime. Oh, man, it was heated up. It was heated up. One of the hosts there got pretty riled up.
Which one was that?
Yeah, I don't know. This guy... It was the guy who believed in God and the guy who didn't believe in God. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun. And we absolutely, actually, Scott and I absolutely positively enjoy those conversations. It just, you get so close to people and get in there and understand who they are and how they believe. And it's wonderful. And at the same time, like you and I feel here on Bridging Civil Tension, where we believe that making a bridge and building it's better than burning it down.
Absolutely.
Let's meet. Let's talk.
Yeah. And I'm back. But the nice thing about we bridge the tension between us.
Yeah.
Right?
And absolutely.
I can accept what you said.
I look forward to when we go camping this fall because that's what the whole thing is. Those deep conversations and just get each other riled up and understand each other.
And the fact that you can actually do that conversation, rile the shit out of each other and walk away still happy.
Hug, love each other.
I'm not going to cut you off Facebook, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
See you guys.
All right,
Have
Scott.
an awesome weekend.
All right, yes.
Pray for sunshine.
Yes, right. That's it. Sorry I couldn't be here last week. Had a thing pop up. I really wanted to be because last weekend we celebrated Juneteenth,
right?
Which is fantastic, right? And I've had so many conversations, Phil, with people. June, what? What's that? You know, I'm like, it's literally Freedom Day. It's like the America's 4th of July for all the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
All the families who had slaves. What? I'm like, really? So that it's a neat celebration.
Right.
It is absolutely fantastic. And for those who don't understand what Juneteenth is, do you want to let them know?
I was just kind of going into it. It was like the history that when the slaves were freed, there was actually a delay down south before the message got all the way through. Some people say that the slave owners down south wanted to get another harvest in before they actually freed all of the slaves. So Juneteenth is celebrated for the actual day in which African Americans and the final message got out that we're free and that there was no more slavery. So that's why you'll hear people say it's not 4th of July is not my holiday. Juneteenth is.
Yeah. I mean, because my understanding is 4th of July, 1776 was when we became an independent country.
Right.
Is my understanding.
Right.
Not necessarily a free country. Right.
It's independent.
We celebrate the quote unquote freedom from England on the 4th of July. And it's very interesting as I did some research and watched some shows that there's still that debate. Yes, the Emancipation Proclamation was in January 26th or something, I want to say.
Right.
That freed everybody. Freed. Those are big quotes, right?
Those are really big.
However, it was around June 19th that every slave received the message.
Right. Sorry about the delay.
Yeah. And of course, hey, there wasn't YouTube. There wasn't,
social media.
There wasn't a 21/6 internet to bring you that great stuff.
Couldn't check your smartphone.
And so why did it take so long? Just because it was traveling by Pony Express or why?
Some people say that it's because the masters wanted to get another harvest in. Some people do say that there was just, a slow response as far as communications go. Out of the two, I lean towards the first.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if I was there and you had no idea.
I'm in control of what you read or listen to.
Yeah. And this is a great idea, Mr. Lincoln. However,
We got this.
there's some planting that needs to be done and we should be able to get that crop in by about the middle of June.
Right. So, as soon as that's taken care of, we'll tell you people your message.
Well, we'll say that they're free. Right. So, and I laugh, but it's really a neat holiday, I think. And I mean, the celebrations, the interesting part of it. I was watching High on the Hog. I don't know if you caught that yet.
I got all the way through it. Yep.
It's great, right?
Did a fantastic job with that one. If you haven't watched it on Netflix, High on the Hog.
But it's so sad that we've got to get this history out through food, right? But the fun part about that, and I wanted to bring in, and I didn't, was my favorite cake. My favorite cake is red velvet cake. But it's always been since I was a little kid. And now I learned,
so good.
I learned the history of red velvet cake.
Right. That
it actually, that is the blood of the slaves. And this was a cake that they made to celebrate Juneteenth,
right.
The freedom. I was like, what? But they used beet juice.
Mm-hmm.
It gave it an earthy taste, I guess. But I was like, ooh, beet juice. I hate beets. But I love red velvet cake.
Yeah, I'm glad they changed the recipe on that one.
Right. But and so I was just like, wow, I had no idea. It was so bizarre. But it to me, again, and a lot of people don't know the history, right? We talk about this history, and not the white history, but we learn the history that we've been taught,
right?
But we don't learn the rest of it, the other layers of that cake, I guess, right? And that's where that's where I think, and that's where High on the Hog is really helping me go, whoa, hey, Phil's not making this stuff up. This is real, right?
They wouldn't have had time to talk and convince this on Netflix.
And so you open your eyes, and now when I talk with people, they get very, very upset still, when we're lumping everybody into a certain group, right? And what I tell them, I'm like, hey, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. Don't even try it on, right? If you all Republicans are racist, right? We hear that. Okay, well, if you're not and you're Republican, don't put the shoe on. All Democrats are, all right, well, if you are and you're not, then don't put the shoe on. You don't have to stand in that circle, I guess, right? But the interesting thing is, and I was talking to Colette, and she's going through a breakup, this nice young man, but it's the high school sweetheart, and now they're kind of going their separate ways, and it hurts. And I explained something, and it made me kind of open my eyes. I'm like, so I drew a circle, and I'm like, this is your world, and when you're in kindergarten, your world is kindergarten, and your friends, you go to their birthday parties and whatnot, and then you move to middle school maybe, and some of those people aren't in your world anymore. They've chosen not to be part of your circle, and so I think throughout life, we're naive to a lot because of what our world is, right? My world is, and I try to help some people understand what white privilege is, and I go, no, it's yes, you had to work hard for everything you got. It's not that's not what white privilege is. I said, have you ever driven through Bull Valley and got pulled over because of the color of your skin because you were suspicious? Well, no, that's the privilege that we're talking about. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, exactly. I said, no, I don't know that if houses have been broken into for the last 3 months and the somebody gave a identified them. Yeah. Somebody wearing a hood that might, a hoodie and might be, I don't know. And so, but police never explain that to you. Oh, sorry, wrong guy. You're obviously not, we've got a good friend. You've coached him, played for MCC this past 2 years, from McHenry. God darn it. Can jump through the gym. Mackie. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Mackie Moore. I could see him. I'm like, man. And that happened to him on the way home from MCC, cutting through Bull Valley. It was even in the papers because his mom was like, wait a minute. Right. He was not speeding. The music was not loud.
Mackey's a good kid.
Literally
Mackey's a good
grew up in this town
Grew up in McHenry.
and got pulled over. He was just driving, obeying every law, got pulled over on suspicion. That's the privilege, right? That's what Juneteenth is all about now, is that, hey, we have the ability to celebrate our freedom.
Right.
And it's not, and I don't know, maybe I'm stepping out over my skis. To me, it's not African American freedom. It's freedom. It's just people freedom, right? Maybe I am.
No. And I see what you're going with this, and it's unfortunate that it had to be this is ours, because when this state happened, you guys were taken care of, but we weren't taken care of until this state.
Yeah.
So then it looks like this is the rest of America, and this is just Africa. This should be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I like the fact that finally there's something like of our own, other than Black History Month. Before you guys say it, on the shortest month of the calendar.
Every leap year.
Before I get hated, right? On the shortest month of the year.
Right.
But and I think it's a good piece to be able to have a conversation starter, right? And start that dialogue as far as explaining to people.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to hijack it. That's just who I am, my stance on things. I think it's brilliant. Why not celebrate? Why? Here's a cool thing. BMO, the bank, I'll give them a shout out. They closed all their banks. Their banks, it was a national holiday for them. They did not open a bank on that Saturday to recognize Juneteenth. They're the only ones that I know did it. That's cool.
Super cool.
Right? And it wasn't like, okay, we're going to give all the, all the African Americans the day off.
Right.
We're shutting her down.
Right.
And that's a Canadian. It's a Canadian company. It's not even an American company. Right.
Of course.
Very interesting, though, are some of the celebrations and things. Who was it? Google, I think, got in trouble. A big deal, because to celebrate Juneteenth, they have free food and everything, was fried chicken, watermelon, chitlins. Right.
Google why. Google why.
Yeah, big deal. I
had one job.
Just celebrate it.
Just celebrate it.
Now, is that you feel that that's offensive? Do you feel that?
I think they could have had some diversity to it, especially after seeing High on the Hog.
Right.
There's so many other options you can go through. I see the intention. I'm trying to ignore the stereotype, but
it's hard stereotype, Google. It is bad. Listen, oysters,
right.
Anything.
Okra now.
Yeah.
Rice. They went through everything.
Everything. Or get a cake.
Right.
To celebrate it. You don't, come on. That's, oh, well, Juneteenth, African Americans. Let's see. Chitlins.
What do they eat?
Yeah, what do they? They should have Googled that shit. But
I know this one.
And if it's not Google, I apologize, but I think it was that.
We still love you, Google. It's
right. I think it was. And I just sit here and I'm like, no, cool. You celebrate it.
Right.
But what? How, you just ruined it for everybody. Except you got people like me, the hip white guys. Hey, Mel, how are you this morning? The hip white guys are like, hell yeah, fried chicken.
I got some Louisiana hot sauce.
and I'll run Run DMC from the 80s. We'll be all right.
Do it.
So how, and I don't know how it feels, right? So when we say Juneteenth, I mean, so July 4th, barbecue, fireworks, whatever. How does Juneteenth make you feel? How do you want it to look? Or do you want it just to be, noted on the calendar and the news stations go, well, it's Juneteenth?
Again, I'd love it to continue to be a piece for conversation. I think that as the more and more we get to the honest truth about history, like whole history, we can grow more as a country versus just having to hear that one side and then other people kind of like, that's not including of us. Hopefully in all the communities, it stays positive. right? We don't want to be a holiday where like bad things happen or anything like that. Food, get together, fellowship, friendship, and just keep pushing each other to get better. Really.
Yeah, cool. I mean, I think about it, and I know there's some people. Yeah, but like when Ramadan comes up or whatever, I don't know.
Ramadan?
Yeah, whatever, or the Jewish holiday or whatever.
Hanukkah?
No, there's another one in there. I don't know,
Okay.
but anyway, if you're not Jewish, you don't go, oh my God, they got to celebrate. Oh. You're like, all right, cool, whatever. I don't understand it,
Right.
and go on, right? Same thing. I mean, why if you don't understand it, why knock it down? Just go, all right, cool. Try to learn about it. Let's go.
I think for the people who can't get down with Juneteenth, and that kind of it's not my history sort of thing, but we get down for Cinco de Mayo, St. Patrick's Day, Sweetest Day.
Yeah, maybe you guys should have started drinking.
Right, like
we'll make this a drinking
so
holiday.
we can celebrate, Halloween, a pagan holiday for like demons. Anyway, we can celebrate
Right.
everything else, but we're gonna, pause when it's being inclusive for this one.
Yeah, it should be celebrated. Melissa says like the 4th. I think having. Oh, hey, Mel. Having a day to honor it is a good start, right?
No.
September 22 is Emancipation Day. June 19th is the day that Galveston, Texas was informed. Yeah, that wasn't cell phones. There wasn't cell phones back then. That's right. Yeah, and yeah. So I knew it was well before the emancipation, right? So, which is awesome, and I think that is, and I think that's a good thing. And yeah, so I think Galveston was the last to hear and get the message,
which is kind of what the whole thing is about. So
yeah,
when everybody got it, message.
So this was all right. Now we're all
right.
This was the day we were all free, right? And yeah, I mean that's just kind of the way that throughout history things have worked as well. I think Juneteenth is a great time, and I said that to my kids. I'm like, oh man, Juneteenth. Did you do anything? They're like, what is it? I'm like, glad you asked. Let's talk about it.
Right.
And Father's Day right on the heels of it. So I had a good chance to be with my kids and be able to say, yeah, this is the chance to teach and learn and find out what they knew about it as well. Of course, Ashley's pretty well schooled on it. Lucy doesn't, in 6th grade hasn't heard about it yet, right? So it's a good thing, and celebrate it. And
maybe her grade is the Galveston of education.
could be, but again, I believe the whole, allow people to celebrate. Right? We get so bent on in America. We get so bent on, oh wow, that's ridiculous. What? Why? Let them Pride Day, whatever the thing is. Let the people be themselves, have fun. Right. As long as they're not harming you, let it go on. Right? But ask me 5 years ago if I knew what Juneteenth was. The answer would be probably not. Right? And if I heard it, I'd probably was like, I don't know. Well, and then just gloss over it. And that's where we as a society can grow. Right? Is move forward. I don't know.
And I'm saying this that, like you said, Pride Day.
Yep.
Pride Month. Everyone is all for it. Lots of people are, I won't say everyone, because you do have those people who still say something negative, but I've seen a lot of people backing it, right? Even if it's not their lifestyle, they still back it. They'll still support it. So when you see things like Pride Month being supported, not necessarily more so than Juneteenth, but some of the logic that what you're telling me, like we talked about, they'll celebrate St. Patrick's, they celebrate Cinco de Mayo, Puerto Rican Day, all these other holidays. What ruffles the feather for Juneteenth? What really is at the core of, if you could be happy for everyone else or inclusive and celebrate?
Yeah, well,
why this
biases and bigotry and and I will say this, I had a great conversation with my coffee guys this morning, right, is we tend to get excited and blood pressure up on things that we disagree with but don't know anything about.
Right.
Okay. You know, case in point, you get arrested, I get arrested, and I get arrested for no reason. I get elevated. Call my attorney. This is crap. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I'm all riled up, right? Meanwhile, I have no idea that someone just murdered my entire family, right? And they're like, where is he? You know what I'm saying? So we don't, a lot of times we get, and still, there's still a lot of pushback too on Pride Day and things like that because, that's different. They're different. They shouldn't, when is it going to be heterosexual day?
Right.
Every day.
Can you just make that voice again? Right. A superhero?
That's it. Heterosexual day. Right? When is it going to be white slave owners day? Oh, well, you kind of celebrated that for a long time.
So happy. Anyway.
Yeah, right. So I think that's what happens. So with in talking with people and understand again that history is written by the victors.
Right.
There is history written by the non-victors. That doesn't get published though,
right,
or chosen. Well, somebody had to decide who to put that in. Yes, someone did. Now we're starting to get someplace. The egg is starting to crack. Let's understand who did.
Right.
Well, I can't help that. I understand. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? First of all, don't get upset. Take a deep breath and learn.
Right.
Listen. Figure it out. And that's the big thing, right? That's the whole thing that you have to kind of take a look at is, what do I know about it? What am I truly getting upset about? Nobody asks themselves that, but I'm just going to get mad at you, Phil, because you're celebrating Juneteenth and it's ridiculous.
Right.
Why am I?
But how is something that you know nothing about ridiculous?
Exactly. That's why I say, and me, everybody out there who knows me is, all right, well, and I will say, I can't have a good conversation with you on that because I don't know yet.
Right.
Let me do some research on it, and let's
circle
let's
back.
talk back, or I'll give you a call when I understand it better. And sometimes that call is, oh shit, you're right, right? And some of it is, wait a minute here, hold on, right?
But what about? Right.
So case in point is right now the big argument is critical race theory. Right. Okay. And oh my God, they're trying to tell that you are racist because you're white. Hold it. What do you know about critical race theory and what it is actually? And well, this is okay. I don't have anybody in school, but this is what I know. Oh, right. So you're just taking on what you heard. How much reading have you done on it? How much?
Well, right? None.
Yeah. Well, okay, then why is this a bad thing? Right. So I don't know how schooled you are on critical race theory. Right. But you've got a son in the South.
Right.
Who
is going to hear a perspective on history from Texas.
Correct. Right. And so critical race theory, and I'll just I don't want to use the the Wikipedia version of it, but critical race theory is an academic discipline, right? Formulated in the 1990s, so it's nothing new.
Right.
This was in the 1990s, and the interesting thing about it is most Americans have never heard of it until recently. And those who have, many don't understand it. And that's the interesting thing. In explaining it, if I can, it kind of helps to begin with a brief history of Marxism.
Okay.
Right. So, and if you're familiar with Marxism, it's a very socialist and communist manifesto, right? Type of thing. But the interesting thing is with critical race theory is what people believe is that they're trying to say, okay, because you were born white, you're racist. And this has been a racist country, is what they're, a white supremacist country. And because you're white, you're kind of, popping in there.
Right.
Right. That's not really what critical race theory is, though.
No.
Right. What do you take critical race theory
So
as?
on the Britannica, it says it's intellectual movement, loosely organized framework of legal analysis based on the premise that race is not a natural, biological grounded feature of physical distinct subgroups of human beings, but a socially constructed category that is used to oppress and exploit people of color. So my understanding is that it's just showing how there are systems or systemic racism in America. Case in point, the fact that the message did not get all the way till Galveston until later on there was a system that did not allow a freedom message to get out.
Correct.
So it just shows how certain aspect, whether that's residential, educational, health-wise,
Right.
how there's a system or infrastructure set in place to discriminate to an extent, whatever high level or low level discrimination, but there is some sort of discrimination in those categories, and just educating on what those may look like.
Correct. And that's the intent, and that's the idea. Now, that's the intent with any educational piece,
Right.
but you'll have some wackos that are out there, people you do in the school systems, who will teach it differently. Right? Let me tell you, Juneteenth, if we go to, let's say, Woodstock High School, where there's 99% Caucasian teachers, that's going to be probably taught differently than, let's say, Emmett Till Academy in Chicago,
Right.
where there's 99.8% African American teachers. Is that fair to say?
Definitely fair to say.
Yeah. And again, we come back to that world. What is your circle? What is your world? No. But here's the thing. If I have a world that has Phil in it, I've got to be able to allow some of Phil's circle to bleed into mine.
Right.
So I have to go, wow, let me understand this, right? If I have, we've all been to a friend's house where they cook with a lot of curry. And you walk in, you're like, wow,
I'm awake.
hey, woo, right? And then you walk out smelling like a lot of curry, or, anybody who does a fish fry or cooks fish or whatever, you go, whoa, man, you walk out, you're like, wow, right? Go to a hibachi grill. You're leaving smelling like the hibachi grill. So the interesting thing is then we have to learn about that. Why does your house smell like cat piss all the time? Well, I got 22 cats. You know what I mean? And they pee on everything, and
It's your house.
right? So, wow, why do you have 22? I just love cats. Okay, well, I've got to learn that.
That's creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy. Right. So I think what we get upset about is when my world that I know doesn't look like your world that you know, I can't accept your world. And then this is where all this anger comes from. So critical race theory, they're really trying to say, here's your world.
Right.
Here's their world. Here's their world. Here's their world. And you need to know a little bit about all those worlds.
All of it.
Yeah.
Works from all perspectives.
And understand that perhaps your world might have been raised up on a little pedestal for a long time and had some special favors.
Right.
That's all. Doesn't mean that they are teaching your son that all white people are horrible. It doesn't mean that they're teaching my daughter that all white people are horrible and that she should feel guilty and horrible
Because that would be untrue.
for being white. Right? But it does teach to say, hey, the world isn't necessarily all unicorns and rainbows.
Right. There was a meme that said teaching students that World War II vets were given a GI Bill benefits to help them is teaching history. Teaching them that black vets were deliberately excluded is teaching history through the lens of critical race theory. If you have a problem with that, ask yourself why.
Right.
So to go on, it's not saying that white bashing or anything like that. It's just, hey, in history, we teach that war veterans are given GI Bills. And land or homes or things like that were able to be bought with those GI Bills.
Yep.
African American soldiers who served were excluded from that. So they didn't have the opportunity to get land or residential things or businesses launched the way this race did. That gives you a head start. That's complete history. It's not saying that one's better than the other, but this is what happened.
And really, what I listen to people, I'm like, listen, the history that we learned, right, is, yes, it's a fairy tale. We're good. We got the enemy. We win.
Right.
We're good. We got the enemy. We win. Right. And yes, interestingly enough, yes, things that I learned in school aren't necessarily being taught anymore. Right. So, yes, there was a time, 60s, 70s, maybe 80s, early 80s, because critical race theory kind of started in the 90s, as we just said, that we did learn about things. We didn't necessarily learn about, was it Wilmington, North Carolina?
Right.
That got burnt down to the ground by the United States government? Didn't really learn about that. You tell people, I say, what? Yep, look it up.
There were multiple towns that were predominantly black. That were bombed.
Predominantly black, wealthy, powerful, and we rolled in, burn her down, burning down the house.
It's a pattern of these successful black-owned cities that were all burned down or looted or riots, whatever, and erased from the history books.
Yeah,
barely mentioned,
right? Yet you can go back and find newspaper articles about it. You can find a lot of different things about it, right?
And then they didn't even give the land back to other African Americans. Like, if you go to Wilmington now, it's white.
Yep.
It's white tourist town.
Yeah, it's all white. Yeah. So I think right out there that
watching, but don't tell anyone.
Right.
Nate.
Yeah. Nice. So, have you sat in a classroom and seen what is being taught? My friend was terminated from his school for refusing to teach from the textbook that was approved because CRT textbooks taught white shame and black victimhood. Okay. So, and again, I haven't seen that, right? And that's kind of why we're discussing this is, depending on where you're at, and that's what we just said. If out here in White Hood, down to Chicago, Emmett Till again, we're going to have a different perspective, and it'll be taught differently. We've had Romy Johnson, who teaches in the city of Milwaukee, and he celebrates things differently, right? There was a time when in growing up we had Christmas parties in school. Well,
can't do it no more.
No more Christmas. We can have a holiday party, right? So times change, and we get that. And really, it's not white shaming, right? Now, the interesting thing is, I can say that I am very active in my children's education. Education isn't just done in school. They come home, we talk about it, we help them with their homework, we discuss things for an hour or two every night, right? Even into college. My daughter's got a master's degree now, and
congratulations.
And she went to a very, very liberal college, Adler University, and we had conversations about, well, I've got white guilt. You've got what? So there, as a therapist, she had to learn about this because there are going to be people that will have these issues. Right. And I will say this, you can't have white guilt because you didn't choose to be white.
Right. Sure.
Right. God made you that way. I don't think God makes mistakes. Right. You can all of a sudden go, wow, there's been a lot of unfair things throughout history, and I didn't have to deal with a lot of those because I was white. right? But then again, that's where I go back to that circle and say, no, you just knew your world.
Right.
Your world was only so big, and now you've expanded that, or you've allowed some people to come in and some knowledge, and now you're expanding your world. I can tell you this, somebody like a Tobin Soik, who's traveled around the world with the Navy, has more experience than I do. His world is bigger than mine.
Right.
My son, Spencer, has spent 10 months in the Middle East, in Dubai, one of the richest areas in the world. Sending me pictures of their architecture and everything. And I go, oh, I had no idea. I thought Dubai was in India. It's like, I don't know, because I'm limited. My world is limited. His is so much bigger than mine because he's traveled the world, right? I've been invited to go to Uganda in January. I think you and I talked about it, right? To go to Uganda in January. And I'm praying on that and kicking that around. I'm scared to death. I've never been out of America. I mean, maybe to Canada for a weekend or something like that as a kid. I've barely been out of the Midwest. Been to the East Coast a little bit, you know.
Right.
That's jumping on an airplane going a long, long way from home, right? And I can tell you, I'm scared.
It's eye-opening, though.
Well, sure, and that's what kind of intrigues me. Like, oh man, this would be really, really cool. Yeah, don't go outside to take a pee in the middle of the night. You could get eaten by a lion. You know?
Roll the dice.
Hey, I'll hold it. Where's that Mountain Dew bottle? Right. So the interesting thing is, and to that point there with teaching, that's why you're not. You've got a degree in history. You wanted to be a teacher, but again, if he can't teach what's right, then he would have been fired as well. Right.
Not teaching the textbook.
Right. So
then my question is, there's people who feel that history teaches like white heroism and then minority criminalization.
Okay.
And that's how the history books come across. Like we talked about, we're the heroes. We won the war. We helped these poor people who needed our help. There's a blip during the slavery times. Other than that, America's always been great.
Yeah.
And that's what we're taught. And then we help these savages. We help these people who are uneducated. We help these, these bad people who wouldn't have made it without us, is how we teach the other side. Other than the Fantastic Five during Black History Month.
That's right.
So why are we cool with white heroism and minority criminalization? But then if we teach anything that's in the middle, all of a sudden it's white shame and then
black
supremacy.
Yeah.
Victiming.
So, and I think a lot of that, it goes back to Hollywood and how everything has been portrayed.
Right.
And again, who's Hollywood run by? Back in the day, I mean, it's Will Smith now. We know Will. Right?
The Cowboys. Remember the cowboy part?
Yeah.
Right. Show Black Cowboys. Right?
It's so crazy, right? I was like, what? Well, yeah, no, I didn't see those. Didn't see those on John Wayne movies.
No, there wasn't any.
You did on Blazing Saddles. But yeah. Yeah, as Tobin says, he's been to countries where they still practice slavery and the diamond mines and whatnot, right? Yeah, it's crazy. That's what I mean. My world's little, so that's all I know. And all of a sudden, when I go, wait, my whole world has been wrong, or my whole world hasn't been truthful, or my what?
Right.
And then people get upset. They get upset maybe because they didn't know, right? I didn't know that tasted so good. Right? I had no idea okra came from. I was like, oh, surprise. Oh, rice. I thought that was Chinese.
Right. So, okay. So, for instance, the still practicing slavery, like in your mind, in our bubble, right?
Yeah.
Slavery is a thing of the past. It doesn't still happen.
Yeah.
Tobin can sit here like, no. Over here,
still there.
It does. There might be that opportunity of, no, trust me, bro. I know slavery is over until Tobin brings you there and goes, see here, look. This is the reality.
Still today.
And it wouldn't be that those kids in those neighborhoods that you're seeing, Tobin, are victims. That's just their reality.
Yeah.
That's just what they have to live with. So in situations where someone's telling you that this is someone's reality, this is what they have to live with, it's not always victimhood.
Right.
You just need to take yourself from this bubble to actually open your eyes over here and realize when the person is telling you this is what happens over here, they're not crying victim. They're just telling you how it is.
You talk to anybody, I got a good friend, she grew up in like Croatia or Yugoslavia or whatever it was back in the day. And that, she's like, listen, we could be walking to school and you'd see missiles flying. I mean, there was all a constant war zone. That was life to them. I'm like, wait, what? You weren't like hiding and crying? No, we had to go to school.
Right. Gotta go to school.
We just knew that you weren't supposed to play in the street at this particular time. What? You know, and they're like, oh yeah, you see the scuds? Scuds come in low. They're not flying real fast. And poof, you know, because they're searching for their target. The scuds. And she's like, yeah, that was just life.
Right.
That's how I grew up. Whoa. Here's how I grew up. Hey, in the fall, I jump into leaves. So, you know,
back to the freeze.
Right. So yeah. So I mean, it's amazing. I believe that's what is my world, and when you growth hurts.
Right.
And when you're 50, 60 years old, 65 years old, and all of a sudden you're growing again, I got to push back against. I'm going to get mad about this. And my blood, right? My blood pressure is going to rise. But again, and go back to World War II, right? Here's how that looks in Hiroshima. I don't know. We sent a couple guys over in airplanes. They went down. Then they atomic bombed us. Right? Where we're like, hey, they came. They kicked the dog. We bit back. Right? And that president, right? That president is hailed a war hero. Today, he would be booked on war crimes. Simple as that.
Right.
Because of genocide. So times, yeah, they're different, but at the same time, again, you know, let's talk about all the Asian people that were in America legally at that time that got thrown in cages because they were spies. And,
right.
But then again, we don't have those people to talk to anymore. Most of them have passed, right? My mom was born in 1941, 2 days before the bombing of Pearl Harbor. She was a baby through that. She probably doesn't remember it. But if you were to talk to her dad or mom, they probably remember having to turn the lights off because they were afraid of air raids from, you know, the Japanese, you know. And if you heard a plane flying overhead, you weren't sure if they were
friendly,
right?
Otherwise,
you know. So, so again, we don't have people to talk to about that, right? Nor are there probably very many survivors, if at all, you know, over in Hiroshima that say, yeah,
right.
But you can still walk over there today and see shadows on concrete, right? So very, very interesting. And someone asked me, and I'll ask you this: what can I do? That's great. What can I do? So wonderful. It's white shaming and victimhood. What can I do? I'm 52 years old. What do you want me to do?
I would say have open-minded conversation first and foremost. I'd say do some research from platforms that you're just not familiar with. Maybe it may not be your go-to preference.
Yeah.
Find someone willing to point you in the right direction. That'd be my suggestion.
It's so interesting that you say that, because that's the exact answer I gave this individual who asked me that question. I said, you know, there used to be a time where we'd go down to this thing called the library. We'd go through the card catalog and we'd read several books on it and then form an opinion.
Right.
I said, nobody reads anymore. Nobody does the research. Let me Google it. Hey, guess what Google does? Tells you what you want to hear. So you keep asking them.
Right.
Right. But nobody reads anymore. Better yet, sit with somebody open-mindedly. Wait, what? That, I mean, literally, and I can say this, you're a very, very close friend of mine for many, many years, and I believe everything you say. Not everything, people, but when he's giving me history, that's your wheelhouse.
Right.
I listen, and there is sometimes some like, oh, God, I don't know, Phil. I think we've stretched this out over, and then I read about it and I go, oh. Well, I guess he didn't.
Right.
Or you see it on a show or whatever, and you're just like, I'll be a son of a gun. Right? And it's just, it's so mind-blowing sometimes, but that's my world expanding.
Right.
That's my world going, okay, let's figure this out. Right? Listen, you know, for many, many years of my life, I thought I was a 6'8" black guy named, Irvin Johnson. right? Right? That's who I wanted to be. He was my hero. That's who I wanted
Here,
to be.
I was magic.
That's it. I was right in here, right? I was 5'8". Yes, there's a big difference. I might have had a better jump shot, but anyway. So growing up where I grew up, again, as I've told people, I'm like, the town was 50-50. It was 50% African American. It was probably 50% white. However, the African American population was in the center of the city, not on the outside. Right? You think about that, or you think about Wild West. Hey, let's form a circle. So
circle the wagons.
Yeah, circle the wagons, right? So you look at that, and until you really realize, you go, oh my God, that's weird, right? No, there wasn't an African American family who lived on my cul-de-sac.
Right.
There wasn't too many black people that showed up on Leave It to Beaver. Right? That's an old show. I don't know if you might be too young for that. So the interesting thing is, yes, if you allow the school to be the only education that your child gets from a 23-year-old kid who just got their degree 2 years ago to teach history, then yes, perhaps you will get that education that says victimhood, right? White shame. However, if your child comes home and the education continues at home through you, giving them books to read, giving them,
that's why, I love that it's that close to Father's Day.
Yeah.
Like hearing you talk about how you were with your kids and you got a chance to have those conversations with them on Father's Day. They look to you for that leadership. So if he's taking the time to educate himself on platforms other than just things he's familiar with, you get an opportunity to point your family in the right direction on that holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I've got friends who are Muslim, very, very good friends who are Muslim. And I've had to learn, they're all terrorists, towel heads.
Right.
I had to take time to listen and learn their culture and their beliefs, right? It's a very, very peaceful religion, very, very peaceful. Even the Muslim, they talk about Jesus and Mary, and you're just like, that's not what I was told. But until you take the time to read, learn, and again, people, you're like, hey, you're a deacon. Why are you learning about that? So I can have a conversation.
Right. Appreciation of.
Right. I got to understand. I want to be able to expand my world. I want to invite you into mine.
Right.
That means it's going to bleed together a little bit. Right. So I've got to learn more about it. I've got to understand more. I get energized. I'm the weird one, right? I get energized when I learn, and I'm just boggled. I'm like, it's so cool. Why haven't we taught that? To me, it's cool. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Again, I don't understand why we haven't taught that. I don't know. And the ideas that come, I don't, and then I get confused. I don't know why everybody's not excited about that. Listen, my grandfather stowed away on a boat and came over to Ellis Island. I'm literally third generation American. Literally.
Right.
There. That's amazing to me. So I could sit here and go, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. My family lived in Wales during that time, Phil. It's not me. Oh, and by the way, you're from Sweden. Your whole family came over. You're not even African American, right? Yeah, and we hear those. Yeah, but I'm black. Right?
Something happened. I'm still black.
Right. We politically, want to be politically correct with everybody. That's why we say African American, right? Black, whatever you want to call it. But
Do you think that for people in our area, education or the willingness to kind of change their mentality, be open-minded, learn into, and kind of adopt a culture more so is taking as long as it's taking due to there's no necessity of immediate change?
Yeah.
Funny story.
Yeah.
So obviously went to Crystal Lake South,
Yeah.
and I was talking to one of the PE teachers there who was one of my absolute favorite people. and was letting me know that like back in the day, our school flag looked a lot different. So it's South. So they had a green and gold Dixie flag.
Ooh,
And
I didn't know that.
in our conference, in our bubble, it was perfectly fine. No reason to change it. It was like a sectional or something they're playing in Chicago school for football.
Green. It was a green and
Gold Confederate flag.
Confederate flag. Oh wow.
And they're playing at Chicago school. Instantly, when they start waving the flag against the Chicago school, flag came down.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we didn't think about this.
Yeah.
Immediate change.
Immediate. Yeah.
Did you only want to change for African Americans because you're in front of a row of a football field stadium full of Chicago dudes? Is that when it was no longer Southern pride and we should talk this out and this is just my heritage and blah, 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 blah. Like instantly we knew
Wow.
at that point.
The flag had changed by the time you got there.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a gator then, but
Yeah.
that'd have been.
Gee, right? Yeah, but you know what? Here's what I think, and I'm looking through the eyes of my 12-year-old daughter, and I'm looking through the eyes of my 18-year-old daughter. And Gary V, right? Gary Vaynerchuk,
Yeah.
great guy, great marketer, says it the best. Old people like me look at Lucy and Colette and go, "Would you guys get out of the house, go play with your friends?"
Right.
They've been communicating with their friends all day. They're more social than I could ever have been at that age.
Right.
And I think that they're more accepting with all their technology and ability to get information, right? For instance, old guy like Tobin, old guy like Kent. Here's the deal. Memorize your timetables.
Right.
Memorize the presidents of the United States. Memorize this, memorize that, memorize this. And if I were to say, "Hey, Lucy, in 6th grade, who's the 12th president of the United States?" She goes like this. "Hey, Siri, who's the 12th president of the United States?" Boom, it's there. Why is there a need to memorize that?
Right.
Right? So I think that the younger and their world is far more expansed than the older generation, than their parents. And that is uncomfortable for us.
Right.
Very, very uncomfortable. And, Tobin has said it before on, in comments on the show is, I learned about that. Yeah. But they don't anymore. It's been erased. That's what we're kind of saying is the things that we really kind of learned about back in the day. Trust me, history in 1948 taught in schools was a lot different than it is now.
Right.
You're fresh out of the war, the victory, right?
Right.
Out of the Depression. Those kids were like learning something different
Locked in.
than what we learned today
Right.
about that era, right? And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to swallow. That's a hard thing for a lot of people to understand. Is what? And that's why, when people say, "Oh, I haven't had cable for 18 years." People are like, "What? How do you watch sports?" I don't. Listen, I can watch basketball 24/7. Tobin will tell you. Listen, I was a junkie. Hey, I literally commercial, boom, switch to this channel because I know the game's on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, commercial, slip track. So
One or the other.
and then there's packages and all this. I go, no. What I tend to do now is I love to watch documentaries and then check the correctness of those documentaries. Right. So like High on the Hog. If you haven't watched it, please do. It's a fantastic documentary. And then fact check them yourself, whatever. Go check into some of those things. Do a little research. Oh my God, what just happened? They did what? There was a government and what? Black Wall Street, whatever the case may be, right? Same thing will happen several years from now as we look at 2020, the riots and things that happen there.
Right.
Oh, we're upset that they're burning down our cities. What?
Did you know that?
What? Yeah. Hey, good. Be upset about it. I understand. What has also happened,
Right.
That doesn't make it right. It's not what I'm saying. And reparations,
So that was another post.
yeah,
The other post said that actually slave owners were handed reparations because of loss of employees or loss of property.
probably. Yeah, here's a stimulus check because you just lost all your employees.
So reparations made sense to them to give to them.
Yeah.
But reparations is just, wow, oh my God, stop playing the victim. You guys don't deserve reparations. So this group did.
But today, 2021, you think there should be reparations paid?
I think what was given allowed an advancement. I don't think it should be billions of dollars per
Yeah.
African American. I do see that we do give reparations to other heritages, and we have historically given to other groups, Asians, Indians, or.
Oh.
So I don't understand why Native Americans, why it would be skipped.
Yeah.
This one group,
Casino Indians, not.
but why? So why has everyone else gotten reparations except one group? Is another conversation that some people take part in.
Yeah. Well, we gave the Indians liquor, so there you go. The Native Americans, right? So I get it, but then again, if that's the case, then let's show me your family tree that takes you back to, slavery. There's a lot of black people who came in from England 2 years ago.
Lots of them.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My nephews are from India, but they're darker than you. Right. So if it wasn't for their straight hair, you would go, oh my God, those couple black kids, right? And they are, but they're not from Africa. So that's why I say is, if you were to ask me, is I don't know how you make that right. I don't know. It's a long time ago. To me, making it right is doing the right things in the future.
Right.
Moving forward and saying this is how we change and make it better. It's not about keep them down. It's not about pulling you over. It's not about, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not about 10 squad cars surrounding you and your Nissan.
It's a scary feeling.
I get it, and we laugh about it now, but those are the things that I think that's the best reparation that we could do as a country is to say, okay, what hurts? Let's stop making that hurt.
I think that then allowing the critical race theory to be taught, because it shines lights on certain things that people can kind of just make you ignore when it's not talked about. I don't have to, if people want to talk about redlining, I have no pressure on me to make sure that my documents are up to par.
Right.
If I get audited to show that I'm not discriminating against African Americans. Now, if redlining is constantly talked about a lot, there's going to be some spotlight now and down to make sure that I'm not discriminating against minorities and trying to get housing or approvals.
Yep.
So that's why I think that you need to have those conversations.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely agree 100%. I think that I think that that's huge, right? I think that I'm a supporter of critical race theory,
right.
But I'm a supporter because that allows me to have conversations with my kids.
Right.
You learned what? Hold on.
Let's look into this.
Yeah. You learned what? Now, okay, let's. I'm going to talk to your teacher about this because this is what I see, or this is how I read it, or whatever. And understand as well, everybody. Understand as well that your kid's a kid. They hear what they want to hear, right? And how many times have you gone to a parent-teacher conference all fired up, and then they hand you a piece of paper, and you look at your kid like, wait a second, you didn't
tell me this part.
Listen, little Johnny, you left this one way out,
right.
And then the dad reaches over and smacks the kid on the back of the head, right? So I think when it comes to teaching and that, and we've got about a minute left as we're popping at the back end, is to say the education is at home. The education they get at school supports your education.
Right.
That's all. And that's where those good. And I'm excited. People are like, what? I'm like, I'm excited about the Black history that they're going to be instituting here in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about that because I get to learn a debate, have good conversations with my kids so that they learn, oh yeah, hey, let's debate that. Let's talk. I don't have to hate. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you're looking to have those conversations.
Yeah.
You're looking to educate yourself. Some people just aren't looking to educate themselves or open to the possibility that they may not know everything.
Stay inside my little world here.
Right, safe.
As long as I'm safe.
Otherwise, it's the Trevor Noah post where he says it's the only holiday that you can't learn why it's a holiday. Welcome to America.
Welcome to America. Hey, for all of us here at 216 Net, thanks for getting caught in the net. Next week, we're going to have a guest.
Yes, sir.
And you're going to love this guest. So stick around and enjoy. Thanks for getting caught in the net with us for Bridging Civil Tension. He's Phil Wallace. I'm Kent Jones.
Love you guys.